Well, Dune, the Prophecy, comes to a close in its first season, and the final episode sets everything up for another season, but I just don't think it did enough overall to warrant a second one. Now, granted, I don't know what the numbers are. If they feel they're good enough, then I suppose Warner's will renew it for another season on HBO. So, okay. But it's pretty dull and slow going, even though I saw potential there. That was interesting, but you needed to spice it up. There needed to be more of an adventure. Now, Dune, it's certainly within the films and whatnot, it's very similar to that somewhat. It's just not on the epic scale that the movies provide, of course. And perhaps that's what's necessary in order for it to have remain interest. The rest of it is this, overwrought soap opera of basically castle intrigue. It is in its attempt and its presentation, Game of Thrones in space. And I get overall it progresses the story for what they had to deal with. The performances are pretty good. And it's not quite repetitive. I mean, overall, the story structure is repetitive because they have conversations in the darkened halls of the castle, as soap operas go, and that sort of thing. But little by little, elements here and there, and they would reveal, and the mystery of who Desmond is, they solved that, and you get that deal. And it, echoes back to the opening and what happened when they were young and all this stuff. And the overall crime that value committed is revealed and whatnot all through their bizarre, I don't know, psychic possession by your ancestors that takes place. So also, I wonder what happened to all those sisters who were loyal to the real successor to the Mother Superior. Oh, they're in the sewer. I mean, jeez, and oh man. And then, of course, the old lady who was the one left who just knew all of this. I don't know. You really want to keep her around? But anyway, the main thing is the play for power. And the mystery of Desmond is ultimately revealed here. And it's a callback to their Butlerian revolution, which was to the war against the machines. Which humanity ultimately won. And yet the sisters are using a thinking AI computer, basically. And so someone else is also doing this. And you would suspect it to just completely abandon technology like that. You can imagine quite a few people would still hold out on it. Certainly for the advantages it would give them. And that appears to be the case. I wonder who it could be. And of course, I blank on the different players but I'm guessing this is the guild is wanting to keep the sisterhood in check and all that sort of thing. And so it appears, and that was the suggestion early on, because at first, it was a combination of both. The bloodline of Desmond, they were studying it, and they began to notice that there was some manipulation there, and I thought, see, they've done a replication of cellular activity on a nano scale here. So essentially, he's some sort of, if not an actual android, then a cyborg. Well, he's a cyborg of sorts in that, but then they went into, Tula had a child, and because she was sent to dispatch the Atreides family and all that. And she bumped uglies with one of the Atreides brothers and got pregnant with his baby. And of course, after witnessing her sister murder almost everybody at their cosmic convent, she's like, yeah, I don't know that I want to raise a child with Auntie Valia, you know? So she fakes the child's death, sends it away. There you go. You get that all typical of soap operas and whatnot. And here he shows up with this, but still, how did it happen? You know, did he inherit his abilities from his mother or something of that nature? And I suppose it's a combination of the two, but whoever the mystery people behind this, because they were seeing all this vision thinking it was a message from the worm, but this appears to have been manipulated by whoever did this to Desmond and implanted this technology in him. And so that's how he's able to possess these powers. Yet still, as I understand it, this is not a story from the books. So it's certainly within the technology provided within its lore that someone could have crafted something like this. And it would be a reasonable plot for someone who fears the power of the sisterhood and all that sort of thing. And boy, how do you counteract their abilities to read minds and their, you know, the voice and all that sort of stuff? Well, they went back to machines and illegally did this, you know. But they would have had to have had some information on Tula. You know, it had to have slipped out some kind of way for someone to know that she bore this child, and they would think he's the guy we want to use because he's got that DNA in him. It would be my guess as to why. Otherwise, what are the odds that, you know, of all the children that are left on a doorstep or whatever, they found a woman to test her on? But it didn't work out because Desmond's really upset, and he knew, because, you know, he's saying that why my mother was a sister and she abandoned me, you know, and all this sort of stuff. So, and somebody told him, you know, and somehow came under the thrall of this mysterious group, which again I think is the Space Guild or whatever this. Were they called this? They weren't called the Spice Guild, but they're the ones who turned into these mutants that can warp space and all that. Anyway, but it's just if, and I think it's a big if at this point, there's a second season, then they would explore that and give some amount of background onto how this just happened to happen, that little Desmond falls into the hands of these enemies of the sisterhood. For he himself, he suffered greatly under all this, and he's blaming the mother who gave him up, and so he has no love for the Bene Gesserit. So that puts him in that position. But at the same time, if he only knew the full story, and he says, well, your aunt was really evil, and I was afraid of her, and so... You know, then again, wait till he finds out. He's like, hey, whatever became of Dad? Oh, well, I murdered him and his whole family, except one guy. And that's the thing. I was like, oh, what's his name? The swordsmith, is he the other Atreides? But I'm guessing he's too young, so maybe he's the son of the guy that Tula let live, you know. I don't know. But ultimately, it was just a slow drag and not a whole lot. People plotting and whatnot there to, I think, spark enough interest. In Game of Thrones, you would have your fights and whatnot and that sort of thing to pad it out. You know, even though with the amount of material they intended to work with here, I would have thought 6 episodes, you could have done it in that, but boy, they needed a little more. Just having the spaceships flying around in orbit, it's not enough pizzazz for a space show, you know? And it's a space show. Come on. But for the most part, and of course, always everything happens in the final episode for a season. So this one had a lot more movement and whatnot in the plot overall, so it was probably one of the better ones of the season, except there was this fight with Atreides and the princess who, the princess just not all that, you know. But they had to fight off the guards butt to butt and she's like a toothpick limbed girl. Come on. and these, muscle-bound dudes coming at her. But anyway, it was brief, and, he helped a lot, so... But anyway, and she's supposed to be his sister, too, so I said, look, if she had developed the voice or something of that nature, then okay, I'd buy it, But anyway, it was over pretty quick, and off you go. But other than that, it was an okay episode. But the overall show, I don't know. And it's kind of just leaves it like that, and you can just kind of guess how things unfold. But they've introduced their own character here in the form of Desmond as to what impact he's supposed to have. Even though they were orchestrating the whole goal for what the Fremen believe in and all that sort of stuff. So I guess this is sort of the nods to that direction as to how the sisterhood would come to that conclusion, even though value probably, they end up on Arrakis at the end, but it doesn't indicate that she's aware that she's lost complete control of the sisterhood back at home. So they still got that civil war to deal with. But anyway, there's really no heroes here. This is another show. Nobody is really all that great. Valia certainly is no hero. She's really just wicked as they come. But, she played out the game and survived. The Emperor did not in this one. It's too bad for Mark Strong. But anyway, so if it gets renewed, okay. But I'm dubious of that. And that's, there's certain elements I would be interested to see how they wrap it up or what have you. But it's not quite on par with like Raised by Wolves, which unfortunately got canceled. But it ended on, a cliffhanger. And it was just like, damn it. Because that one was really good. It was so weird and interesting and stuff. Dune Prophecy just doesn't really have enough of that in it as well to keep it intriguing enough to draw an audience. But then again, Raised by Wolves, I guess, didn't get the audience either. At least Dune has more of a brand name to it, I guess. Maybe that helps. But and its attachment to the movie. So I don't know. Oddly enough, that the guy playing Desmond was one of the main characters in the Raised by Wolves show. He's just, I guess he's stuck in outer space shows. But anyway, that's it for Dune Prophecy for the moment. We'll see whether they continue it or not. They will be doing another movie, but we'll just have to see how that goes. But for the most part, it just... the things of Warner Brothers and HBO and all that, you can just see that they just don't have the money anymore. So in a show like this, I don't know, what are you gonna do? Do merchandising and sell those little blocks with little sticks sticking out of them and say, "Hey, look, a Dune spaceship." That's pretty much all they are. This episode, they had these shuttles that looked like cockroaches. You can have those. Use it as a paperweight, Well, anyway, to be determined, but I wouldn't be surprised if they passed on it. And I feel kind of sorry for it, and there's some things in there, like I said, I'd like to see it play out. But I don't think this has the strength to draw a big audience to it. So there we go. Dune Prophecy.